right, we told you a little bit earlier right now that Mitch McConnell, of course, is concerned about whether Republicans have a shot at taking back the Senate. He has his doubts about some of the quality candidates that you've heard. You also heard that Janet Breen, the idea of Lindsey Graham now talking about a 15-week abortion ban after that period. It might have complicated that, but we just don't know. How that would affect things in the House is anyone's guess, where Republicans are still favored to pick up the seats they would need to control that body. Nancy Mace, hoping to make that, the South Carolina Congresswoman herself running for re-election, joins us now. Congresswoman, good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
Do you, and I raise this more in what's happening in the Senate, Congresswoman, so I apologize for that, you're in the House, but that this mixed messaging, or that Republicans are sort of wandering off the message itself, focus on inflation and the economy, get distracted on issues like abortion, the focus on defending Donald Trump, however meritorious that might be among your colleagues, but sapping time and energy from, the economy and inflation. What do you make of that?
Well, inflation and the economy, and I represent a swing district, Neil, where Republicans are outnumbered almost 2-1 in this congressional district. But the economy and inflation is still the #1 issue across the board for every hardworking American this year. And I think when you look back at the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, I think both sides were taken aback and taken by surprise by that ruling. And then we were like, well, what's next? And as a Republican, I'm one of the very few, I think, that have leaned into this issue. This is an issue in my district. It's an issue in my state. I think it's an issue across the country. It's not the #1 issue, but in many districts across the country, it's the second, third, or fourth, certainly top 3 to top 5 issue. And it's something that I think we should be able to communicate with people about, because there's no consensus on abortion for any reason up until birth, just like there's no consensus for outlawing every single abortion, and coming up with solutions either in state legislatures or in Congress. Finding that center middle ground, trying to find common ground, is a place where we can start. It's an issue that I've been talking about extensively since overturning Roe, trying to find where we can bring people together so that both sides don't continue to use it to fundraise and to use it to their advantage in campaign season. These decisions, this policy is going to make a real difference in somebody's life.
But still, Lindsey Graham is a South Carolina senator. You're in South Carolina. Would you have preferred he not get into this? And what had been a view, let the states handle this?
Well, the overturning of Roe simply took the issue out of the courts. It did largely put it into the hands of state legislatures, but there's always been a role for Congress. Under Obama, Democrats could have codified Roe v. Wade, and they decided not to after telling America that they would. I do believe that there's a role for Congress to set some guardrails, and Senator Graham's legislation actually wouldn't have an impact on the state of South Carolina, because South Carolina's legislation and bills that have been signed into law are more restrictive, and I don't believe his legislation, reading it firsthand, would have an impact there. But I do believe that we do need to have a message that's compassionate, showing compassion to women and girls who've been raped, who are victims of incest, that we're not going to leave them behind. And in states where they are banning abortion, that we ensure that every woman has access to contraception. In my state of South Carolina, we have women in rural counties and rural areas where there's not a single OBGYN doctor. And so we need to be thinking, I think, very pragmatically. It's not mutually exclusive. I think you can protect women's rights and protect the right to life together. And that's where we've got to find and build consensus on both sides of the aisle, and not be so one-sided about it either way, whether you're pro-choice or pro-life.
Got it. Congressman, thank you very, very much. Very good seeing you again.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.